From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Friday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. Quite the early one here for scheduling reasons. It is 6:45 a.m. I've got coffee in front of me. I've slept, about 5 hours. So we'll knock out a podcast here for you this morning. Obviously, one topic on everyone's mind. Ole Miss set to name its next chancellor today. Quite ahead of schedule. Neal said 2020. No, we didn't even get into November to get this bad boy done. We'll dive into it today. On the podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. You know about the free gas for a year sweepstakes, Mobile Reward Plus card. Sign up for it. Get it every time you use at least or fill up with at least 8 gallons of gas. Automatically entered. It runs through Halloween. So get that Mobile Rewards Plus card today. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We're going to be really concise with ads today, we promise. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call Corey at Clark Ford. He'll give you a quote. You can take that quote and shop it around, or you can do the smart thing and get into a Clark Ford today. It's great service after the sale, great vehicle. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy, and he'll prove that to you. 662-257-1900. You know, Chase, you told me a few months ago, based on some sourcing, that this would happen in early October, and I scoffed at you. And it turns out that not only were your sources right, but they were trying to tell you something, because a coup was underway.
So I'm a little scattered right now. Honestly, I'm still kind of waking up. Glenn Boyce to be named the next chancellor today. We also expect, it's in short order, I don't know the timeline, but at some point Boyce to bring on Chip Pickering as well, the former politician, the CEO of Encompass, who was also a candidate for the chancellor job. He was actually an applicant, unlike Boyce. So he's going to bring him on. I think it's a vice chancellor role, but don't get caught up in minutia. It's going to be a role for fundraising and communication and recruiting, and kind of a face for the administration is the way I understand it. So just kind of laying that out there a little bit.
How blunt you want to be today?
I don't have a whole lot of filter at the moment, so go ahead, whatever you want to do.
I think this is pretty clear what this is.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'll be willing to come back later and tell you I'm wrong. I've not been told this in these many words, but I'm putting a few things together. So I might have puzzle pieces wrong. I think Boyce is coming in because there was a power struggle, and the kind of old guard conservative Mississippi wing of the fight won. I don't think the Oxford/Robert Kayat people got their guy. I think more of the Jackson kind of people got their guy, but they couldn't put him in. They couldn't hire Chip Pickering right now, today. Just couldn't do it. I don't know Chip Pickering. I've never met him. I'm told he's a really good guy. I have nothing against him. I don't know the man. I know his resume. And I know he has some stuff in his background, and most of us do. I don't judge. I'm just saying I think it was determined that they couldn't hire him right now. They didn't want to hire Bobby Robbins. And when I say they, here's the thing I'm going to say that's gets people a little pissed off. I don't think there was ever a unified Ole Miss front that went to the IHL and said, hire Bobby Robbins. Because I think if they had, they would have hired Bobby Robbins. I don't think they wanted Bobby Robbins. I don't think you can blame the IHL specifically. And I no longer believe you can blame the IHL process, because the IHL just took its own process, set it on fire, and did something yesterday.
But here's the problem with that, Neal, is that there's no Ole Miss constituency group that wanted Glenn Boyce. The IHL made this decision. The IHL
Yeah, but
burn their own process and pick their own candidate.
But in my opinion, they did it knowing that he's essentially an interim chancellor without the interim tag.
Yeah, but that's letting really off the hook. Like that's really going down the line to go, hey, we're not going to blame them. Like,
No, but I'm not saying. No. I'm not saying you can't blame them. I'm saying you can't exclusively blame them. They were not part of the power play. I'm telling you, this deal is. This gives Boyce the freedom to come in and the power to come in. And one of the rumors already is that he's going to walk into the Lyceum and clean house, which I know everybody goes, great. Got to be careful just cleaning house.
And also, we'll see every time somebody's hired, hey, they're going to clean house. Like I kind of get tired of hearing it, frankly.
But I think it allows them to let Pickering get out, and he's a good politician from all accounts. And so he's going to meet a lot of people, and he's going to sway a lot of opinion. And in a couple of years, his hiring will be far more palatable. Boyce will say, hey, I'm tired. I'm too old for this. It's time for me to do something different. I need to take a break. And Ole Miss will throw a big party for him, and then they'll slip the guy in that they wanted all along. That's my opinion. That's sort of how I read it.
So I guess we'll back up a little bit. Most people probably have read a lot of good stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff here, been on the board, all that kind of thing. But so what happened in Jackson this week is they interviewed several candidates on Wednesday and Thursday. They interviewed Bill Hardgrave at Auburn. They interviewed Cal Mayo. They interviewed Jim Barksdale. They interviewed Michael Benson. Those off the top of my head. There might be one more. I don't know. Whatever. So we know the candidate pool after the leak got trimmed. Robbins pulled out. The Toledo woman pulled out. I don't think Chris Howard was ever actually interested. My personal opinion. Just an opinion.
He wouldn't have had a chance anyway.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying. So they do all these interviews, and some of this is what I've learned from sourcing. Some of this is coming from Adam Gunna's show, who wrote a story for Mississippi Today last night about this. Then one of the board members, I don't know which one, abruptly was the word Adam used, called for a vote or a motion to interview Boyce. Boyce shows up a few minutes later, meaning he knew that was coming and he was in the area. Come on, give me a break. And then as soon as that interview was done, they made a motion to name him chancellor. There are 20 steps to the chancellor process. This process we've talked about ad nauseum for months. They did 12 of them. It's also the second time in a row they have cut that process short. Reading from Rethink Mississippi on Twitter last night, the UM chancellor job is the IHL board's 6th executive hire since 2017. So in the last 3 years, Boyce is the 5th who has come from inside the system. 5th of 6 hires. Cutting the process short. Boyce was never an applicant. He was a consultant to the search. He interviewed prospective candidates. He interviewed Ole Miss stakeholders. He had a say in the direction throughout. He was paid approximately $100,000 to do so. I think it was $100,000, but I don't know the number in writing, so I'm going to say approximately. And here's what gets me. There's a lot of stuff that gets me, but I just thought about this, and I don't want to forget it. He was given one of these backdoor interviews, is what they called them. We said that for certain candidates, there was a path to not be public. There was a path to keeping it as quiet as long as possible. He meets no criteria whatsoever for a backdoor interview. None. Those were set up for Bobby Robbins, Michael Benson if he wanted them, Kelly Damphouse. Those were set up for Philip Gunn or elected officials that are currently in office. There should have been a very strict scrutiny on how those backdoor policies worked. And instead, that entire backdoor policy was set up simply to keep Boyce as out of the news as possible. He was not one of the 8 names leaked. They made sure they kept their guy quiet throughout this process. That is what bothers me about this more than anything else. And it's a long line of things that I'm bothered by. Is that it was all done not as a, hey, we're going to use this process to find the best candidate, to attract top candidates, to anything else. No, we're going to manipulate this process to make sure that when it comes back to it, we can get this guy in office with as least trouble as humanly possible. Period. That's what happened.
So you don't think there was any working with, in this case, some of the people who were for Pickering, some of the people who were for Mayo to come up with a bridge?
Well, Pickering's involved, so I'm fine with that. But from a Mayo standpoint, no, I don't.
Some pretty powerful people in the Pickering camp.
Yeah. I'm not arguing that there were politics in play. I'm saying that this is, and you were right more than I was, because I've heard Boyce for months and months and months, and I never discounted it per se, but I sort of gave everybody more credit than they deserved. I sort of just went, hey, when it gets down to it, really?
And I mean this as a compliment.
I know.
I don't think you wanted to believe it.
Yeah, that's probably true to that.
And I don't mean that as an insult at your reporting skills or any of that. I just think you didn't want to believe that. Me being far more disconnected to the institution than you are. I don't mean covering the sports programs. I mean the institution itself. You know a lot of people. You're tied in. You're friends. I think you still care about it in a way that, whatever. I don't think you wanted to believe it. I put a few things together. It was the weekend of the Cal game. Mm-hmm. I was in Fayetteville with Campbell and her Kyo things. It was 2 weeks ago. And I told you that I remember where I was in Fayetteville. I told you this is Boyce. They're hiring Boyce. And frankly, I've put a couple of things together since then that I'm just not comfortable saying yet. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they've got an AD picked out.
And I do want to do this right here before I forget, because we've got a lot of stuff we're getting to. I don't know Glenn Boyce. I have no clue. Might be a great chancellor, might be a terrible chancellor, might be somewhere in the middle. But it's not about him. Had he gone through the process completely, openly, transparently, and was picked, we could pick apart his resume. There's not a ton there. And we could have that discussion. But the way it's happened, he has no mandate. I wrote last night, it reeks of cronyism.
Because it is.
And it limits him in such a way to where, I mean, if Ole Miss has never needed a transparent hire more, needed something exciting more in a way, even though excitement's not, at the end of the day, what pays the bills.
Chase.
And they get this.
Hire on steroids.
Yeah.
The reason that Matt Luke is having such a hard time getting people to buy in is not because of Matt Luke, the human being, or even Matt Luke, the football coach. It's because they view what happened in that search as a scam, an inside job.
Yeah, and this is that exponentially.
To 1,000,000 degrees.
It's part of the process. Here's my thing too. I don't know how. I don't know when the decision was made that, hey, they're going to for sure hire Glenn Boyce. I don't know. A while ago. If you knew that was even likely, why do the consultant thing? Why not just keep him out of the public eye? He's still there. You can still hire him.
You want my opinion?
I mean, that's a complete and utter marketing and communication, not just failure, but just abomination.
You want my opinion?
Sure. Why not?
They wanted to trick the people, and they thought they could trick the people. They always think they can trick the people.
And maybe in some backwards way thought, hey, let's get him in front of the stakeholders, and the stakeholders will be impressed by him.
Maybe so. I kind of don't even want to give them credit for that.
Okay.
I think they think, hey, we can trick these dumbass people, and we'll do what we want to do, and we'll consolidate our power, and we'll have people we can control, and by God, we're doing this. I told you Hargrave had no chance because he didn't have any real tie to Mississippi, and for whatever reason, the people in that room, I'll say this about the IHL in a negative way, I don't think anybody who is an outsider has any chance. It is one of the problems with Mississippi, quite frankly. The state is we're about to elect this moron of a governor who is literally running on, hey, boy, they're not going to change our license plates, not going to change our flag. It's literally part of his campaign. Scare tactics. Well, you don't want outsiders coming in here. They'll change things. I think Robbins was viewed as an outsider, even though he's from Mississippi. Hargrave, even though he has absolutely far more qualifications than the guy that they're hiring and the guy that they're hiring to be the next guy. Far more qualified, but he wasn't a good old boy. Literally, Trent Lott refers to Boyce on the record talking to the Clarion Ledger, and I'm sure Trent Lott still views the Clarion Ledger as the news medium in the state of Mississippi, as a, quote, good old boy. You couldn't make that up. If I was making up a story, like writing Neil's picks, and I wrote that, you'd be like, oh, come on. You would think it was satirical. Dude, I rest my case. I don't think an outsider had a shot in hell at this job. I think it was fixed. I do. Looking back on it, I think it was absolutely fixed. I think the whole thing was a sham for months and months and months, trying to figure out a way to get what they wanted to get to. And I think so much of the, quote, process was to trick the people. I also think they dragged it out long enough, and this started coming up in the last week. Dragged it out long enough to get people to say, hey, we just got to hire somebody. We got to get this thing done. We got to get this thing done. Because you get all the people in the middle of a football season. I'm not making fun of any fan base, because every single fan base in America does this in football season. Well, we got to get somebody in here in case we got to fire the coach. Got to get this chancellor thing done. Got to get somebody in. Got to get them in now. Let's lower our standards and just get it done. It's really the equivalent of you go to the bar. I mean, you know where I'm going with this. You go to the bar and you get there at 7 o'clock and you're just hanging out with the guys. Maybe you have your eyes on the pretty blonde over there with her friend group. Then they leave. It's about midnight. All your buddies have left. You're like, that one over there, she's not so bad. That's the equivalent. They were trying to trick people, and they almost did it.
I'm asking, I don't even know if I'm asking rhetorical questions here or what. There's 20 steps to the process. This process we've been talking about, there's 20. They did 12 of them. They cut the last 8 off. They've got a little disclaimer at the top of the thing that talks about, I've got it here. It says, rather than engaging in the extended search process described below, the board may, in its discretion, interview candidates that are known to the board and consider their selection in accordance with the expedited process described in policies and bylaws, whatever. They skipped over even taking the dude to campus, even doing any of the constituency group stuff at Ole Miss.
Because, Chase, if they had brought him to campus, it would have been met with some degree of revolt.
Yeah, so I guess that's where I'm going with this, is the only way to actually hire him was to expedite it to keep him away from people. Right?
Yes. In the same way, and look, I'm not picking on Pickering, but if you bring Pickering in as, hey, this is our guy, we're going to parade him around, people are going to say, wait a minute, hold up. How is he qualified to be the chancellor? And wait, what about this stuff in his background? Shouldn't we at least talk about these things? Shouldn't we have an airing a little bit of this? And so everybody said, well, how's the best way to do this? Basically, in the dark. When there was this groundswell of support beginning to build in the university community, when I say that, I mean alums and stuff, about Bobby Robbins, the IHL, in my opinion, someone in the IHL leaked the list, turned up the heat, smoked them out.
Yeah, I think it had to be an actual IHL board member.
The fix has been in for a while.
For anyone living under a rock, by the way, so we'll just kind of rehash a little bit. Boyce's experience, he was IHL commissioner from 2015 to 2018, which frankly, from a communication standpoint and from a marketing standpoint, is a negative, not a positive. And then he was the president of Holmes Community College. That's his background.
He's unqualified. I don't know him, and look, I'm cutting my own throat a little bit by saying this, but he is. He's unqualified. There's nothing in that resume that screams, yeah, that's the guy to run a major flagship institution.
And a candidate pool that included a lot of qualified people.
That's exactly right.
Because I saw a news media person in a pretty high profile job in Mississippi last night going, hey, that Holmes Community College experience is really going to help. Give me a break.
That's just kissing ass.
Like, come on.
That's just kissing his ass.
I mean,
that's all that is.
That's not relevant to running Ole Miss at all.
And I'm going to say this. I'm going to defend you here because we're both getting attacked a little bit, and it's fine. It's just some shoot the messenger angry stuff. I get it. I'm a big boy. I can handle it, so no problem. You kept writing about Robbins because you had strong sources who told you that he wanted the job.
Yeah.
That's why you kept writing about Robbins. I've gotten that question from text. Why Chase keep writing about Robbins? Because I think until about 2 weeks ago, Chase thought Robbins was getting the job based on the information.
Well, and now that's probably too strong because I had no confidence the IHL would actually do it. I just knew Robbins still wanted the job.
Was telling people he wanted.
Yeah. Right.
And that if they could kind of do the process the right way,
do the process the way they did it. Just go get Robbins instead of Boyce. This is exactly played out the way it would have required it to go get somebody. Forget Robbins. Everybody gets so bogged down in Robbins. In a sitting president or chancellor at the Power 5 level.
Just go. That's what I told you all along. I scoffed at the whole process thing. I just know how stuff works. You gas up the jet, you take it to wherever, and you get your guy. And you bring him back and you have a formal interview, but it's not really a formal interview because you've already offered and he's already accepted, and you have a little interview there to say that you did it, and then everybody has a cup of coffee.
Just like they did on Thursday.
Yeah. You have a little song and dance. Slap everybody on the back and go, oh, did it.
Yeah.
And then you bring him up to Oxford and introduce him as the next chancellor, or her as the next chancellor. Just what they did here. This has been in the works for a long time. This was not a voila moment on Thursday.
Well,
any more than the Chip Pickering coming on as part of that. That to me is the part where I can't pin that on the IHL.
Well,
that required negotiation.
We'll continue that conversation in 1 second. First, tell you about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, SoCal County, and Chattanooga. You know about the float down option, the leader in condo financing, and with the rates as low as they've been in about 2 years. Great time to give Jason a call. That number's to tell you every day. 662-234-2704 or JLOWE@communitymtg.com.
We're also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. I'm kind of racing through this. I'm sorry. Brought to you also by Splinter Creek. It's a gated conservation community located 8 miles southwest of Oxford, 75 minutes from the Memphis airport. You really should check it out. It's beautiful land. If you're coming up this weekend, you're thinking about retiring in Oxford, thinking about relocating to Oxford, whatever the case may be, check them out. Give them a call. Tom Smith Land and Home Agents. They'll give you a tour. 601-898-2772. It's SplinterCreekMS.com. We're also brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. They're in Houston today and tomorrow. If you want to get a private fitting, you can do that. Send them an email, info@bluedeltajeans.com. Slide into their DMs on Instagram, Twitter, and they'll hook you up if you're in the Houston area today or tomorrow. Also, don't forget to ask about Gino. They start the sewing on that great new fabric line later this month. We are also brought to you by Southern Craft Stove and Tap. It's located off Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue. If you're coming in this weekend, check it out. It's a great menu, 30 craft beers, high-quality selection of cuisine, libations. They're open for lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch, and you can have your favorites catered out as well. It's Southern Craft Stove and Tap, Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue in Oxford. I've got a Mind on My Money podcast out. I think it was pushed out yesterday afternoon. It is sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. We talked about cord cutting and a lot of those things. The people at Pinnacle Trust they've really been fantastic to us. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. They also have the Pinnacle Trust 401k advisory services. Check it out, pintrust.com, PINN trust.com. If you mention the podcast, you'll receive 10% off your first year's fees. And we're brought to you by the Westin Jackson. It's home to Soul Spa. It's also home to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. It's a Marriott property in downtown Jackson. It's fantastic. If you're staying in Jackson for business, if you are passing through Jackson, be a great place to stop and sort of recharge your battery as well. Don't forget Ole Miss Vanderbilt Saturday at 6:30. The game tickets are still available. You can get them at OleMissTix.com. The hoops season just around the corner. You don't want to miss any of the action of Coach Yo's women's team, Coach Kermit Davis's men's team this season in the Pavilion. Tickets available at OleMissTix.com. And don't forget, make plans for a couple weeks from now. Join the Ole Miss men's and women's hoops teams on Friday, October the 18th for Square Jam on the Oxford Square. Bring the family out to the free event featuring skills contest, player autographs, and a dunk contest to cap off the night. For more information, visit OleMissSports.com.
Podcast is brought to you by Tyson Drugs and G&M. I had some people that did it yesterday. Head on over to G&M on South Lamar and get that flu shot. It's a $0 copay on most insurance plans. They'll get you in and out as quickly as possible. Again, that's on South Lamar and Oxford at the Tyson Drugs on the Square in Holly Springs. You can find out more at 662-236-2222.
I need to add this real quick. If in the event that you're wanting to get a fitting next week with Blue Delta, they're going to be in Jackson, Nashville, Atlanta, Birmingham, and Dallas. They're all over the place. If you're in any of those markets, and I know from our demographics that many of you are, and you want to get a private fitting, you can do that.
Do you expect Boyce to return the consulting fee?
Do I expect him to?
Yes.
Oh, I have no idea. Does he almost have to? Yes. Did Dick Cheney return his consulting fee, I wonder?
I have no idea.
I mean, he could say, hey, I did a lot of work.
I consulted.
No, do I expect him to? No, I don't. I think they'll scam it all the way out to the end.
As much as we knew the entire time it was probably inconsequential, if I'm one of those 39 people on that committee, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I did a lot of work. I'm speaking I for them. I obviously didn't. Did a lot of work, ranked candidates, and they abruptly ended the process to hire somebody that wasn't even on my list.
Yeah, hold that thought. I'm going to go back to the consulting thing.
Yeah.
This is the other thing that really bugs me. And I've had people who are good friends try to tell me this. And I kind of scolded one last night, and I hope I didn't ruin a friendship because I don't have that many. I don't believe for 1 minute the line that's getting used of he didn't want this job.
No, he had to be complicit in this.
I don't believe that. It makes no sense. I'm not naive. Don't do that to me. I am too smart to believe that. And I'm not that smart. But I'm too smart for that. That is, to me, the problem is there are some of the people who did this. They must think that people are just stupid. And a lot are. Don't get me wrong. You'll find people, they'll show up at this thing today, and they'll all clap, and, oh, it's just good. Welcome to Oxford. Welcome to Ole Miss. And they'll pat him on the back and kiss his ass so that they can maybe get in line to they have a little access, know somebody. That's kind of how it works, you know. Hey, welcome, Mr. Chancellor. Hey, so glad to have you. Yeah. That's coming. But that whole line of he didn't want it is total BS. He absolutely was complicit in this whole thing. So what do I expect? I expect he'll keep his consulting fee and say, hey, I didn't want this job. I serve at the pleasure of the IHL, and they on Thursday said, hey, you know what? We've got the best guy right under our nose right here. Look at the job that he did over there at Holmes. That's a tough job, Holmes now. Let's interview him real quick. Let's make sure he's not the guy. And he said, well, they asked me. And I did, and they offered it to me. And, oh, heck, I went and talked to my wife, and we really thought about it real hard, and here we go. And if you believe that, God help you. I don't know how you make it if you believe that. I question how you get through the day. Like, how do you find the grocery store and figure out your way around it and then still get home if you believe that?
Today is somewhat of a big day for him to have any sort of positivity at all. It's gotta resonate a little bit. He's got to pick an AD pretty quick, and by God, he's got to pick a good one. Got some more hires he's going to have to make.
People are going to get mad at me.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable saying the name because I'm not positive that I'm right.
I'm not even sure who you're talking about, I don't think.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember our conversation 2 weeks ago when I told you, oh my gosh, it's Boyce?
Yeah.
I think
is this tied into what I was working on the day of the Cal game?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't have that where I'm...
Sorry, people, it is what it is.
People want me to write it. I'm not comfortable writing it. I don't have it good enough to write it. I don't have it good enough to say it. But if it turns out to be true, then I will truly know this fix has been in for a good while. I mean, a good while. But today he's got... I don't think he can do it. I think it's so tainted that I don't think there's any speech that he could deliver that would change the game.
Frankly, it's so tainted that a lot of people would go, I can't govern in this environment and not take the job.
Yeah, I don't.
He's not, but you know what I mean? Like, there is a segment of logical people that would go, I just can't do it in this environment.
It's the equivalent walking down the aisle and you get down there and she says to you, I don't really know that I love you. I don't really know that I want to do this. The thought of kissing you makes me sick. And then the minister says, to you, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm in. No, you'd be like, oh, well, hey, sorry everyone, we got some talking to do at the very least. We're not ready to do this just yet. But not this deal. Nope. The bride's down there saying, I don't want to do this. I don't care for you at all. In fact, I'm being handcuffed right now. It's the only reason I'm still here. And just right on.
I will say real quick, in defense of Boyce, the people that are so worked up about the cowbell photo, he was the IHL commissioner. He went to a graduation. Chill.
Yeah, that stuff stop. Yeah, that stuff's ridiculous. That's the stuff that when people do that, you're doing black helicopters.
Yeah, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know a group other than people who just really know him directly, or what you mentioned that are, hey, there's also the group, and again, I'm not criticizing. I'm literally naming groups. There's also the group that if I were named chancellor, they're all for me. Like, no matter who it is, they're in my uniform and I'm there. Period. Yes. It does not matter. I don't care what the process looks like. He's my dude. Let's go.
You know, you would have been a far more popular choice.
You think so?
Yes, no doubt.
I don't have a terminal degree either, so.
I have one.
Do what?
I have a master's.
I can borrow yours.
Yeah, let's go dig it out of the attic, but you can go to Monroe for 2 days and get one.
I think you can get them online now.
Stop.
But my point being, that is the amazing part of this, is that this morning, and I mean, trust me, I mean, I thought my phone was going to just take off at some point last night, just pick up in the air and fly away.
Oh, mine too.
Oh my God. I mean, I had to, I told you, I ended up getting that watch, and every time I get a text, it buzzes, and I had to turn it off and take it off. I was like, I'm sick of my arm vibrating.
I mean, I had to go back. I was in 20 text conversations, and I would go back and look for one that I had just been in 20 minutes ago, and I'm having to scroll on my phone looking for it.
Point being, I don't know that there's a group other than those groups who either knows him personally with a connection and maybe something to gain from this, or the group that's just okay with everybody or anybody. There's not one that's okay with this. There is not a group that is positive about this hire.
Can I ask you this?
It is. I mean, in all seriousness, and again, I feel like we're constantly bashing Matt Luke, but there's symmetry in kind of how the process played out a little bit. At least there was some whatever. This is nowhere near even the positivity of that hire when it happened.
There's a gentleman at one of these listening sessions. The video's out. I'm sure you've seen it. It's
Mr. McCool. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know who that was.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, who was he? Okay, so that was out. That was, gosh, Chase, that was a month and a half ago, right?
It was September 6th, I think, but don't quote me on that.
So it was a month ago. 4 weeks ago.
Pleading with them to not hire Boyce in this exact way.
But saying that this was, but not only pleading, he wasn't making it up. He said this is a strong rumor in the Mississippi business community.
Correct.
He's basically pleading with them to do this the right way, to do the right thing. And this is the problem, I think. This is where it gets interesting. You know, at some point you can just beat people down to a place where they go, it's not worth it anymore. Listen, they've kicked this can down the road to November the 1st, but enrollment numbers are not good. And kids are in the process, because I have one, of kind of lining up visits now and getting really started in the college selection process. This isn't a wonderful time for morale to be super low. This was the time to bring in, and I'm back to, I'm not making fun of myself here, but if someone of my intelligence level, moderate, can figure this out, then really smart people should absolutely figure this out. If you can't hold your finger in the wind and realize that the atmosphere around Ole Miss right now is not particularly good, if you can't figure that out, then you don't need to be making these decisions. And if you can figure it out, this was the time to make a hire that unified, that excited, that energized, that got people saying, you know what, hadn't been the best time lately, but it's about to get better.
Well, it goes beyond that. That just spoke of competence.
No, I'm not willing to do that, Chase. No.
But that's the truth. It was a hire that other schools, they just wanted somebody that could get a job somewhere else. That's what a lot of Ole Miss people wanted. Go out and hire a really qualified person that could have gotten the dang job at Auburn or Arkansas or Tennessee.
But what they needed at the very least was a ground rule double. What they needed was a home run. And frankly, there were some home runs out there to be hit. And not only did they miss it, they missed it intentionally. They hit a ground ball to the second baseman intentionally. And didn't even run out of the box in case he booted it. I literally believe that. I think this is an absolute farce. I'm stunned by it. Even though I saw it coming, and I was sitting here in this spot making Dick Cheney jokes 2 or 3 weeks ago, much to your derision. But I started pretending that Dick Cheney was coming onto the podcast. I was very clearly saying the guy that's running the search is the guy that's getting the job. And even though I saw it coming, I'm kind of stunned. Yesterday, I caught myself stunned. I shouldn't be stunned. I've been here a while.
Oh no, and it's the one major mistake I made in reporting this story is about 2 weeks ago, 2.5, I don't know. I was told by somebody who's pretty connected that if IHL wanted it to happen, they could go get Robert Robbins right now. Could get it done. He would take it. It would be fine. But if that did not happen, it was Glenn Boyce. Period. 100%. And I messed up. I did not report that the way I should have. It was right. It was done.
They were right. Yeah. And at the same time, that was when I was told, and I told you, and you basically put it out because you put it up on a message board post and linked it out front that there was something off on the Robbins thing and that you didn't think it was him.
The way I phrased it, I think, was I did not think the IHL would do the necessary things to make that happen.
That they were processing him out.
Yeah. Essentially, they were turning up the heat on him.
They made it where he had to comment on it, and he didn't have a job to take. Now that to take, he had to solidify his position with the job that he had.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, in many ways, is a better job. That's the amazing part of the Bobby Robbins thing. I'm not hung up on Robbins. I don't know him either. The amazing thing about the Bobby Robbins thing is that here you had a guy who, and I'm not insulting Ole Miss or Mississippi as compared to the University of Arizona, but he was making more money there.
Quickly becoming beloved.
Here you have this beloved chancellor. Yeah, there's no question about it. Beloved chancellor at an institution that's bigger than Ole Miss, that they're paying him more money than Ole Miss was going to pay anyone. I am fascinated to see what Boyce's salary is. I doubt if he's taking a big hometown discount.
I bet it's whatever Keenum's making.
Whew.
It's a guess.
Keenum's a happy.
I can be wrong, but that is my guess if you made me guess.
I bet Keenum's coffee tastes good this morning. You had a guy willing to take the job. He was willing to take the job. That to me is the damnedest part of it. See, some of the things that when people do and I'm not picking on Matt Luke here because this is at all, but one of the things that gets used in the Luke discussion that has some validity to it is, well, you didn't exactly have this great applicant pool wanting to clean up Hugh Freeze's disaster. It's true. I mean, there was nothing about Dave Doran that would have just absolutely captivated the imagination of Ole Miss fans everywhere. Solid coach. He was certainly qualified, but keeping it real. Bobby Robbins, I'll use him as the example, would have been a grand slam. It would have excited people. And he might have walked in and been the worst chancellor in the history of all time. I doubt it, but who knows? And again, Boyce might come in and end up being the greatest chancellor in Ole Miss history. But it will be super hard for him to ever get that sort of traction because of the process. They could have gassed up a jet, gone out there, gotten him, brought him back, done the little dog and pony show with him having no risk at all.
No, getting on the plane knowing it's done.
Done. Here's your red and blue tie.
Yeah.
Sir.
Press conferences tomorrow at 1. The interviews today at 10. We'll knock this out real quick and get on with our business.
Where you've already made all the plans to have all the family and all that stuff there, and they've got their rooms and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it would have been pretty exciting day today. You introduce him at the football game tomorrow, and he gets a standing ovation. And people start saying, hey, they're leaving the Vanderbilt game going, it's getting better. It's about to get better.
And there are multiple candidates that would have done that. Bill Hargrave would have done that.
Sure, absolutely. But
no doubt.
Now, I mean, if they trot him out at the football game,
I think he gets booed.
I think he gets loudly booed.
I'm amazed to see what this thing looks like at noon, although I think that's mostly just going to be supporters that show up.
Oh, yeah, they'll make sure they pack that room.
Yeah.
They'll get that. If they're smart, they won't bring him to the football game, because if you bring him to the football game, you'll have prospective students. I know everybody gets hung up on student athletes. I get that too. You'll have prospective students, prospective student athletes at that game, families coming down, looking at Ole Miss. You know, they're looking at multiple schools. Let's go for a football weekend. And you're booing the new chancellor? Not a good look.
Yeah. We'll take our final break real quick, tell you about Visit Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com is the website. Go bookmark it, keep it up, and for everybody to see what's going on in Oxford every single week. Today you got Live on the Lawn from 11:30 to 1 at the University Museum. The public double-decker bus tours at 3 and 4 o'clock today right outside the Visit Oxford offices. And the homecoming parade at 5:30 on the square. Obviously, Ole Miss and Vanderbilt tomorrow from Vaught Hemingway. So again, visit oxfordms.com/events.
Sorry. We're also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. We've told you about John for a while. What you do is he's a phenomenal travel agent. He books great trips. Check out his Instagram, JCT Edwards. You can see some of the trips that he's booked for himself. He can book those for you too. Give him some parameters. Give him a budget. He'll give you options. And you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. We're also brought to you by Harry Alexander. It's an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent, big part of Savannah Square. If you're coming up this weekend, you want to look at Savannah Square, you're thinking about retiring in Oxford, moving to Oxford, whatever the case may be. There are several properties in different stages of development. Harry will show you those. He'll show you the model home at 215 William Street as well. You can view more at savannahsquareoxford.com, and you can get in touch with Harry by call or text at 662-801-5621. We're also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB is home to Casasa. It's the absolute best cash checking account. They'll pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000. It's also home to a commercial checking account, now paying 1% interest as long as you keep $10,000 in the account. To learn more, go to liveoxford.bankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. Don't forget, today's the last day for Oxford Park Commission youth basketball registration. Leagues are open for boys and girls, 5 to 15. Cost to play is $50 per child. Visit the website, oxfordparkcommission.com. Today is the final day.
Podcast also brought to you by Master Cuts Lawn and Landscape. You know, to get a free quote from those guys to help you out with basic maintenance, from mowing and weeding and edging to many more things, including custom playgrounds, pool decks, and more at 662-607-7773. Get that same quote and see all the different services at gomastercuts.com. Yeah, we talked about it just briefly a second ago before we went back to the thing. I mean, but I've talked to several people off that advisory committee who are quite pissed this morning. Really, really pissed.
Well, they got used.
Yeah.
They were a prop.
Yeah. They were a dog and pony show.
Yes.
I mean, they were.
Yes, of course. Their time was wasted. Some of those people have their time's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
They weren't listening to them any more than the listening sessions, which we knew were a complete joke. Literally, I don't know Mr. McCool's first name. I apologize. Literally, someone walked into one of the listening sessions and told them, "You guys are pulling this scam." Called them out on it right there. They didn't care.
No, completely thumbing the nose at every Ole Miss supporter.
So the fix has been in since at least then, and this Mr. McCool, and sir, I apologize for not knowing your first name. I don't know that we've met. He didn't hear that rumor that morning. He'd been hearing it for a while. He said he'd been hearing it for a while. I don't know what Mr. McCool's definition of a while. Campbell McCool. I don't know what Campbell McCool's definition of a while is. I would guess it's at least a few weeks. I'm putting words in his mouth now. That's not fair, but I'm guessing. So call it a month. So now the fix has been in for at least 2 months. Nothing happened the whole spring, which feeds my theory, which is, let's push this thing down far enough and far enough and far enough that the people get desperate. The peons get desperate. We'll get some of the influential people together. We'll kiss their ass for a minute, make them feel important. because it's important to a lot of those people to feel important. They like having their ass kissed. And then we'll send them on their way, giggle a little bit, wait a little more time. And then when the Robbins thing got hot with people, because it did, people started getting excited. Frankly, when you reported that, hey, this is, I think you said I'd make him the leading candidate right now if you were handicapping the field.
I did. I said it wasn't a majority, but if you told me just to pick someone, I would pick him. People
got fired up that weekend. And they responded almost immediately by smoking him out.
And then that probably, I don't know that turned heat up everywhere. And then what it did was it caused people to then leak to, and again, this is not taking credit or whatever. Adam did a hell of a job, but the Mississippi Today article much more viral than obviously behind our paywall. And once that happened, it forced Robbins' hand to speak.
Yeah. Because then people out at Arizona said, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Are you leaving?
Suddenly you got boosters and people out there and all these donors to this ridiculously large capital campaign they're running that said, hey, we got an NOA coming. You with us or out? What's up?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, all good.
Oh, and they threw some bonuses at him.
And look, here's the thing, too. Talked to multiple people who know Robbins fairly well. I'm not sure he ever believed it was anything but a farce. I think maybe he knew the entire time it was not happening, although he was holding out some hope.
Yeah. Well, let's keep the other part of this real. It gave him a little leverage in case he needed it there.
Yeah, sure. And he really doesn't right now, but I get the point.
Yeah, you never know when you might need it.
I don't know how soon he's going to start or anything. No clue. Don't know.
What's your guess?
January 1?
Oh, really? You think it's that long?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know. I mean, if you told me next week, okay, what's he doing? I mean,
I would guess much sooner than January 1.
Okay. Well, let me rephrase this as I'm thinking this out. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, people. I know. I'm sorry.
We're not hiding something.
You're right, though. Yes, January 1st does not make sense with this.
And I promise, as soon as we can, say it, we'll say. And I'm not saying it because I can't say it. I'm saying it because I'm not sure it's right yet. The moment that I am sure it's right, I will come out and say it. And I've said enough today that you will, at that point, know that I would think that part was fixed a long time ago too. But I can literally name 2 people that I think are involved in that. So I'm not comfortable at all zeroing in on one.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct. It's at least 2.
Yeah. I mean, there might be more, but there are only 2 that, in my opinion, have a chance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think Keith Carter is one of those people, by the way. I'll put that out there. I don't think Keith Carter is going to have the interim tag removed. And if I'm wrong, I'll own that. I don't have that sourced. I'm guessing a little bit based on things people have said.
It would have been a really nice night last night to have our YouTube up and running.
Yeah.
Could have got some calls last night.
We might still be going.
Oh, gosh.
I finished a bottle last night.
Yeah, I didn't do anywhere near that.
I mean, I didn't start the whole bottle. The bottle had previously been started.
You didn't have a 5th last night.
Oh, no. I would not be talking to you right now if I had.
Didn't have a J. Tate Saturday night.
No. I didn't have that Cubs win the World Series night where the next morning I walk into Ross's office for that interview.
Oh, my God. That was hilarious.
And the first thing I did was like, hey, where's your restroom just in case?
The Cubs win the World Series, and we're meeting with Ross at like 9 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah, and I was still so drunk. Oh, I felt so bad, and I was so happy. And
I think I had to come get you. I think I drove you.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive until it was late that day.
I'm surprised my phone has not rung before 7:41.
I know my phone's more active than yours is this early in the morning.
I'm getting a lot of texts, but that's the first call I got. So yeah.
Percentage of people you've talked to who are even willing to consider this, who aren't just vehemently angry.
All right. Anybody who's even a little bit positive. Hold on. Let me scroll.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
We got a few minutes. This is probably interesting. All right. Negative. I'll just do it this way. People who are completely and utterly negative and hate the entire process. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 26 to 1. There's 1.
Mine is, these are negative. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 positive, so 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 1, 7 1, 8 1, 9 1, 10 1, 11 1, 12 1, 13 1, 14 1, 15 1, 16 1, 17 1, 18 1, 18 to 1.
Okay. So 26 to 1, 18 to 1.
So that's 44 to 2.
Yeah. Which jives with the poll that is on our site right now that was like 92 to 8.
Whew.
Percentage.
That's not how you want to start, guys.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the honeymoon.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the happy day.
The first 100 days where you get stuff done.
Yeah. Literally. I mean,
when message is such the important thing for Ole Miss right now. Anything to try to unite somebody. Well, hey, they united. This hire united the fan base.
Well, that's true. Don't think this is the textbook way to do it, but yeah.
They're all rowing in one direction right now.
Oh. Don't get me wrong, because I want the theater of it. But and I don't know who over there now is even in position to do it. But you can't introduce him at a football game. Just can't do it.
You're going to hear a lot today of, hey, he's got it now. We just have to support him because we need Ole Miss to be better no matter who's in charge.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of that.
That's what you're going to hear today. You're going to hear, hey, just get over it. We got to all go in the same direction. Please, 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 please. We need Ole Miss to succeed. Be mad for a day and then ignore all the cronyism.
I can't believe I'm doing this on a podcast. I shouldn't.
Okay.
What's the reaction on the Spirit board?
I haven't been over there personally today or last night. I was told by a couple people that it was much more, not overwhelmingly positive, but much more down the middle than we were.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll be curious to see if they sort of push the, hey, we're all in this together. Let's go. We got to support.
Credit for the comedy, by the way, to the advisors of the DM. They just wrote bullshit across the top of the DM this morning.
You're kidding me.
Oh, no. There's an editorial in the DM that has the headline bullshit.
Wow.
Yes.
Props.
Do what?
Props.
You like that?
Yeah. You say what you think.
Yeah, it's an editorial. Hold on a minute. I mean, we got a minute here.
Yeah. I'm kind of impressed, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, really. No joke. I truly am. That took some courage.
And honestly, I mean, I've been in that exact job. Credit to the advisors and people, because typically they'd be very skittish about those things. Like, they say student run, and it is for the most part, but advisors would be quick to go, hey. So credit there. Here's the front page. I just sent it to you on message.
Okay.
The front page of their paper.
There it is. Oh.
I've been in that job where, you do it, you put that paper to bed at night. Whoever the editor or whomever is this morning, like, they got up feeling really good about that. Because students are kind of in bubbles too anyway. I don't mean that negatively, just in general.
Yeah, it's in general.
So, yeah.
Well, for people who aren't on our site, I posted this message from a faculty member, and I will keep this person very anonymous. But he is, wait, I'm going to find it. My poll does not include the people who slid into my DMs to tell me things last night. He says, "Don't get me wrong, I love Oxford. I really like my colleagues, and I have always been treated well here. However, this university has an uncanny ability to shoot itself in the foot. It's starting to impact our salaries, our resources, and our ability to recruit both students and new faculty. Now it's going to get much worse." That is the atmosphere that Glenn Boyce walks into on day one.
He's starting a near impossible task.
Yeah, I hope he has a hell of a speechwriter, and he better have like a Kiefer Sutherland delivery. He's got to nail it. He'll get some support today, and I suspect and we could name them. There are a couple of media outlets. One in particular is probably going to do some of his legwork, some of the heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. Come on, everybody. Come on now.
Need some help.
Even if I thought that, I wouldn't dare write it today. I don't think we could survive it.
I'm curious to see what today brings. I think noon is the time, I think I've been told. I think that's right.
You're going?
I think I'm going. I think I feel like I need to see it no matter what. I have no idea if it's a Q&A, if it's just a meet and greet. I don't know. I don't know what we're walking into.
You wearing your vest?
My
your
vest.
Bullet vest?
I feel like if things got a little squirrely, there'd probably be some people behind me with pitchforks for my protection. So,
yeah, just please be careful.
Be careful.
Yeah,
I'm typically not overly worried about walking into crowds. I'm typically pretty well liked.
Well, I think you're well liked with the crowd. I don't think you'll be well liked with that crowd.
The people on the podium is the problem right now, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable going in there. I don't think.
Really? Why?
Well, because I think I think they'll stack it. I mean, they fix everything else. I think they'll fix this. They will stack this with friendlies, who I think would look at someone like me and say, "You're part of the problem because you don't march in step." That's what I really believe. I think that's kind of how I'm viewed by a lot of the elites. Why can't you just play along? Yeah, I think there will be people up there that will look at you and say, "Why can't you play along? Why are you putting a fly in the Chardonnay here? Why can't you just drink the Chardonnay with us?"
We will obviously have everything at rebelgrove.com. I'll have I'm gonna go. So whatever's said, whatever the sights and sounds, I'll report back on the website for that as well. Today, column up from last night, hundreds of message board posts if you're so inclined. You can find those if you wish. So all that is up at rebelgrove.com, and we will talk to you again on Monday.